This is Tyler Lewis here with Phenon Hoops. We're honored today to have Coach Antonio Lowe with us today. Coach Lowe, I appreciate you coming on here.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, Tyler.
No problem. Coach Lowe, now the head coach at Winston Salem Christian. You coached at Moravian Prep as well as with Team Loaded. You had some of the best teams in the state, and you have coached some of the best players in the state. You've done an amazing job with your players on and off the court. And the one thing I love and admire about you is how much time and effort you put into each individual player to help them reach their goals and dreams. So in your first year at Winston-Salem Christian, what are your goals this year for your team?
I think honestly, it doesn't really start with my team. I think it actually starts at the middle school, kind of with laying the foundation there. When I took the job here, I was very intrigued at the fact that I would have a chance to start a program and build a program from the ground up. And I feel like that starts with the middle school team and the middle school guys. We have actually really good middle school group of kids coming up. And I think that's just kind of coming into the year with my goals. My goals was to start with the middle school team, and we also have three other teams that are on a varsity level that we call the silver team, the black team, and then the national team. So I felt like not only am I laying a foundation for the national team, but I also wanted to lay the foundation for the middle school, the black team, and the silver team. For those guys, I feel like if we're all successful, then the program in a whole is better off. You know what I mean? So I didn't take this. And when you speak about goals, my goals are not just with the national team, but it's with every team that we have here at Winston-Salem Christian, and just laying down that foundation and building something special, starting from the ground up. And I feel like that starts with the middle school team.
That's awesome to hear that you're just not worried about your own team. You're worried about the middle school team, the black team, the silver team. And it does, like, you're kind of building a little farm system in a way to help these kids grow and achieve their dreams. And with the middle school group, they're going to continue to see what you're doing with the high school teams and the national team. And that's going to make them work harder because they're going to want to be coached by you and be on that team. So that's
right. And I'm actually, to say this, I don't think there's many national team coaches out here that are also coaching the middle school team, but I am also the middle school team head coach. Me and Jake Honeycutt will be running the middle school program this year, and so I actually get a hands-on experience with coaching the middle school. And for me, I was actually, pretty stoked about being able to coach that middle school team because that's where I started at. I started off as a middle school coach years ago, and I feel like just teaching the fundamentals to those guys and being someone that they can look up to is actually really great for me. So I'm excited to actually really coach not only my national team but the middle school team as well, and help those guys achieve the goals that they have in general.
So you said you started off as a head middle school men's basketball coach. How did that play a role, like your first season coaching middle school to where you are today? Like, how has your coaching changed, and how did that experience being a middle school coach help you become the coach you are today?
I was really really young, and I had great people around me to help along the way. Starting out, I was 20 years old, and I didn't. I was still just coming off of playing. When I got into the middle school role, and just actually being able to have a relationship with the kids, and getting them to play hard for me was great. And I felt like starting out as a middle school coach helped prepare me. And I went through different stages. I went from middle school to JV to assistant on varsity, and then I kind of got into the prep school world. So I feel like I've had a chance to get my feet wet in all of the categories, not just being given a national position, but I truly worked my way up from middle school all the way up to now coaching on a national level, and I feel like it all go hand in hand. Just the growth as a coach for me as a young coach, you're never too young to learn, and I think that paying my dues and starting with a middle school helped me to have the success that I've had so far with coaching on the national high school level.
So coaching both the middle school and the national team this year, how do you coach them both the same, or do you treat the team a little different because of the age gap?
Tyler, honestly, I don't. I coach them all the same. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit more the middle school team gets the nicer side. You know what I mean? Just because they're a little younger, but at the same time, I coach those guys hard like I do my national team guys, and I think a lot of the middle school kids come here for that reason. And that's part of our mission statement is teaching them accountability and also coaching them hard to achieve their goals. I mean, life is not fair, so I think that being coached hard as a middle school kid only prepares these guys to have the success when they get to high school.
That's awesome. You sort of talked on your mission statement a little bit, and you've been able to build successful programs wherever you've been at. What has been your mission statement that made your team so successful?
I think it starts with accountability. For me, that's something I preach, the most with all of our guys is accountability. And I think accountability starts in the classroom and off the court first. You know what I mean? It's deeper than basketball. So if you hold yourself accountable in the classroom and off the court, our guys stay in dorms. I mean, they have to do chores. They have to wash dishes. We got kids here that have never, ever washed dishes or even washed their own clothes. So I think accountability takes a part into that as well, because now we getting kids here and we're showing them and we're holding them responsible and accountable for their actions and stuff on and off the court. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I gave my team an assignment. They had to clean the whole dorms, and it had to be done before I passed out any gear. All these kids go crazy over gear, but leading up to that, I felt like, they had to have some responsibility to get the gear, to earn the gear. It's not given, it's earned.
Yep.
So again, the main thing for us is just preaching accountability. I mean, it starts, our mission statement starts with accountability, and that starts with off the court. And I feel like if you're accountable off the court, then the on the court stuff will take care of itself.
You're right. And sort of talking about accountability a little bit, it's hard to hold other people accountable on your team when you're not holding yourself accountable for the player's sake. So I really like that's your mission statement, and they live up to it, and you kind of hold them accountable for cleaning, doing chores, cleaning dishes, doing all that stuff. That speaks of you're helping them out in the long term, just not on the basketball court. So,
Absolutely.
So my next question is, what is your why? Why do you coach, and what fuels your fire every day to keep going back into the gym and leading these kids to become the best person and player they can be?
My why is just, coming up, I was raised by my auntie. My mother passed away when I was in the 6th grade, and my father has never really been in my life. And I really didn't have a male figure that I could look up to, going through tough times in high school and not feeling like I had someone to talk to is kind of my view for why I do what I do. It has nothing to do with basketball and winning games. I that's the least of my concerns. I just feel like I'm able to be an example to some of these guys who have no one to talk to or no one that can kind of tell them right from wrong. One of the things that I tell my guys all the time is the people that love you the most are always going to tell you the truth. And I feel like that's something that I've done a good job with over the years, is always telling my guys the truth. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to always tell you the truth. Sometimes you don't want to hear the truth, but it's always going to be the truth. And that's something that I pride myself on, is just always being somebody that is going to always tell these guys and parents the truth, because sometimes the parents need to hear the truth. You got so many people out here in this basketball world and this coaching world that'll tell a kid what they want to hear just to get them to play for them versus the truth. And then a couple years on down the road, once they get to college, the stuff that these people that have been telling them and advising them doesn't make any sense. I feel like that's something that I pride myself on, is just, always being an example for these kids to look up to, and somebody that comes in every day. And, I come in every day. I have a lot of duties here at Winston Salem Christian. And, I never sell myself short. Even when it's times when I don't feel like going in the gym, I'm always going to go in the gym, because you never know what some of these kids are dealing with at home and not having no one to talk to, and just someone positive that they can look up to and be there for them. My phone is always on. And that's even with kids that don't go to Winston Salem Christian. That, I'm just that type of guy. I love being around the kids, and I love being somebody that they can look up to and come to, and to give them a little bit of knowledge of what I've experienced in life.
That's awesome. two things that kind of really popped out to me there is how you always have your phone on, no matter if it's Winston-Salem Christian guys or kids that you coached or random kids. You're always there to help them out. And then the second thing that really stood out to me during your answer that I really respect, because it just coaches you as a coach, just being honest with your players. And you want people to be honest and trustworthy with you, whether you want to hear it or not, because that's what's going to make you better. That's why I really respect my dad in a way, because he never really sugarcoat things with me. He always told me the truth. And sometimes I hated it, but it ended up helping me out in the long haul. So what is your biggest life lesson that carries over to coaching?
My biggest life lesson. I would just say is staying true to yourself. Just staying true to yourself. I also hold myself accountable. I preach accountability. I also hold myself accountable. With conducting myself and making sure I'm staying on track of everything. My biggest life lesson, I would say, probably would be is just always willing to learn. I mean, even to this day now, I'm always open and I'm a gym rat. Whether it's my team or anything, I love talking basketball. So just my ability to learn and always have an open mind with everything and ask questions. So I mean, I really, that sums it up. I just, just growth. Never being too old or too young to learn and ask questions from people that have lived.
That's awesome. So getting into your first year at Winston-Salem Christian, you brought in some really good players. You have tons of talent on your team. What are you most excited about, and who are you most excited about for this year's team?
Yes, I mean we have a talented roster. We have a talented young roster. Let's start off with saying that. We kind of got some bad news over the summer with my point guard turning ACL and Amari Haney. So I think that coming into it, we've had some challenges, and we're still going to have some challenges early, because we are young and we got people playing out of position and stuff. So I feel like I'm excited about being a part of all of these kids' life. There's no one player that sticks out in my mind. I'm excited to be someone that can help these kids grow on and off the court. So that's the thing that I'm excited about. And also just taking over and being the first year at Winston-Salem Christian, just laying that foundation to where we can start to get our name buzzing more on the national stage. We have a big time schedule. We're going to play some big time competition. And then just giving ourselves a chance. I feel like we're going to take some bumps and bruises early on in the season because we are young and we're still trying to figure it out. But I just want to have the opportunity to be right there at the end. Once the state championship, Phenom State Championship come around and some of the other national tournaments that we're going to play in, is just being right there at the end of it and giving ourselves a chance. I feel like that we're going to be, like I say, we'll take some bumps and bruises early on in the season, but I want to be that team come late December, early January that you start to see that they're starting to figure it out. So again, to answer your question, I'm excited about all of my guys. There's not one person that just stick out. You got some guys that are a little raw. You got Brandon White that is coming over from public school that now playing on the national stage, and I'm excited to be part of Brandon's development. You got Quante Bird is coming down from Tennessee that is pretty good. I'm just excited to be a part of the growth and being able to take him to the next level. So that's something that I'm excited about for all of my kids, is just being able to take them and teach those guys how to play basketball and what's expected of them, how to compete hard every day and just play hard. So that's what I'm most excited about with all of my guys.
So that's awesome to hear, because you're going to continue to, I know you said you're going to take some bumps and bruises along the way, but I feel like your team's going to continue to grow each and every day. You're going to get that 1% better. And by the end of the season, you're going to be your team's going to be hard to deal with. If I'm going in to see your team for the first time, what am I going to say about Winston-Salem Christian?
If you're coming in to see my team for the first time, the one thing that you're going to say and you're going to walk out of that gym and say is those guys compete. They play hard. We still, one of the things that we did at Moravian was there was no fouls and there was no out of bounds. And we also did a point system, and that's some of the things that I've brought over here to Winston-Salem Christian as well. Is we don't we don't really keep up with the fouls. I mean, we're not hacking each other, but we're not getting caught up in looking for fouls. If the ball go out of bounds, we're not stopping it and saying it's black ball or it's the purple team's ball. We're whoever get that ball. So the one thing that you would come into our gym and the one thing that you would see is our guys are going to compete. They're going to play basketball the right way. They're respectful. And again, we just competing the whole 2 hours of practice. Our guys are going at each other. The one thing that we have here is I feel like we have 13 players that can really, really play. So my first 5 is just as good as my second 5. So when we're doing everything competition wise, it's all the guys are really, really competing. And I've instilled in those guys that every day you step on the court, it's an opportunity for you to take the man's position in front of you. And that's one of the good things that I feel like we got here at Winston Salem Christian is we don't have 1 or 2 good players to where everybody's being cheated in practice. I feel like we're so competitive and we have a lot of talent to where 1 through 13 is all competitive and it's earned. So the one thing that you would take from coming in our gym is our guys are going to compete hard. They're going to play the right way. And it's just, I mean, the whole 2 hours of energy.
You mentioned that your second 5 can compete against your first 5 any single day. Like you have multiple starters on your team and you have so much talent. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face with so much talent on your team?
In the beginning, in all honesty, in the beginning, it's guys buying in. I mean, you got kids that come to us that maybe average 20, 25 points a game last year at their high school. That's not going to happen on my team. And I tell people that if you're looking to average 25 points a game, then my team is probably not the team to play on. I like a balanced attack. So to answer your question, I would say is just getting the guys to buy in, but that don't start on the first day. That actually starts over the summer. I text these guys and I have a relationship with these guys. I start building a relationship with all of these kids from day one. And I think a lot of times when these kids come to Winston Salem Christian or play for me, it's already been put out there on the table. So it's no surprises when you get here on the first day as to what it's going to be. I think I start over the summer with creating a group text for my guys, and I would always send them bulletin board material throughout the group text, and our guys would chat throughout the group text over the summer. So once they got here on the first day, the buying in part wasn't as hard because it's been passed down and it's expected. If you look at some of my teams in the past, everybody has put aside their egos for one goal, and that's to win. And I feel like if you play basketball the right way, if you average 6 to 8 points a game, you still can go to college. It's not, that doesn't mean anything. You don't have to score 25 points a game to go to college. So when you're dealing with a team that's got 13 guys that can play, you're probably not going to have someone that's going to average 25 points a game. And that's going to be the same thing once you get to college. I like to prepare my guys for the next level. And some of these guys, and I tell them, once you go into college as a freshman, they're not, you scoring the ball is not going to get you on the court. It's actually being able to guard somebody. So that's something that I think that is we're establishing in the beginning, is that buying into the team role, the team is first. We don't have any egos on our team, and that's something that I feel like starts with the coach. I'm not going to allow that stuff. I feel like it's played the right way. If you got somebody open and you don't kick them the ball, you're going to get fussed at. So that's something that just the buying in part that I think is one of the main things. And also teaching these kids kind of how to. Some of these kids come from places and schools to where, because they were the better players, they have been allowed to maybe cut corners. And with me, I don't allow that. I don't care if you're a 5-star or no star, an 8th grader or 11th grader. Everybody's going to be held to the same standard. So I think that's also one of the main pieces, is just teaching these guys how to play basketball and bringing it every day.
How would you describe your coaching style right now?
Honestly, I'm not the easiest coach to play for, because my expectations are always high. I want everything to be perfect. Even perfect and crisp. When we run in our offense, I want us to be really good. I want us to be sound. I want us to be able to get past a lot of these teams. Once you stop them from the first option of their offense, they're not able to go on to the second and third option into the offense. So that's something that I pride myself on with my teams, is being able to go to the third and fourth option into a play once it's breakdown and you don't get the first. So that's something that I would say my coaching style is. It's just I'm a tough coach, and that's on and off the court, because my expectations are high. I expect all of my kids to have good grades, not just just what's required, but beyond what's required. So again, coaching style is more so intent. When you step out on the court for 2 hours with me, it is, I expect you to go hard. It's no everything is game speed, and we want to play fast, so everything we do is fast. Going into from one drill to the next drill, from one play to the next play. I don't allow no walking on the court. So that's my style. It's tough. It's tough. I'm not the easiest person to play for, and I tell kids and parents that when they reach out to me about coming over to play for Antonio Lowe coach team, is that it's not going to be easy. And if you can't accept hard, tough coaching, then I'm not probably the one to come play for.
And I think your coaching sort of talks about your team in a way of just how tough you guys always are, how well y'all compete every day and during the games. I mean, in practice, you talked about like not fights in a way, like no out of bounds. You're always going for loose balls. And that's one thing that I love about your team and I love about your coaching style is you're so competitive and you compete every day and you're tough on them, and that makes your players tough and they continue to grow. Where do you see Winston Salem Christian in the next 5 years?
That's a great question. In the next 5 years, I want to say that Winston Salem Christian would be a program that people can look at and say it was done on integrity and done the right way. It was built from the ground up as far as the sports program. I mean, Winston Salem Christian has been around for a very, very long time. So the school part has been intact for a long time. But I would say the basketball aspect of things, I would want people to say in the next 5 years that, of course, I think we're going to be done achieve some great things in the next 5 years. And I think that it will continue to grow more locally and nationally. But the one thing I would want people to say is that it was built on integrity and it was built on doing things the right way. I don't want nothing in return for these kids. I don't care about winning games. For me, it's more so about teaching these kids life lessons that would translate over to the court. And once they get to college, I want to be somebody that these kids graduate college from and go on to get married and have kids and still have a relationship with me. So again, in 5 years, I would say I would want people to look back and say Winston Salem Christian, the national basketball program, the middle school program was all built on integrity. And I'm someone that they can look up to and can say that it was actually really done right. You see so many programs out here that get caught up in what a kid can do for the program. For me, it's what can the program do for the kids. And that starts in the classroom. It starts with just building character in that kid. So that's the most important thing to me. I could care less about the wins and losses and playing on the national stage and all that, because the kids that come to play for me are coming to play for me for a bigger reason than basketball. Is life. So that's something that I would say that I want to Winston Salem Christian to be, in the next 5 years. That one of the things they can say is that Antonio Lowe and the staff and Dr. Wolf and Miranda Tilley, the athletic director, we all built this program on integrity and just in honor and just doing everything the right way with these kids on and off the court, and the off the court stuff. The basketball part will take care of itself because everything was done right. The foundation was laid right before that.
Well, I know with you as a head coach and you looking over the whole basketball program, I know things are going to be done with integrity, and I know they're going to be done the right way. And these guys definitely, these players, student athletes, definitely have a great role model to look themselves up to. My last question for you, Coach, is you've been able to coach so many great players over your years in basketball. Who are a couple players that just really stand out to you that you're like, wow?
Man, you put me on the spot with that one. Of course, I've had some talent. I mean, from Josh Hall to Joel and Tamby, who's now at Texas Tech. Joel and Tamby laid the foundation for me, him and Elvin Rodriguez back in the day, and also Caleb Burgess that is at Hofstra University. So I've had a chance to coach some pretty good guys with those guys. And then, you add in my last year's team, which was a fun group. They had Jamari Harvey, who's at UNC Wilmington, Javazier Belton is at Southern Miss, Shaquille Morris at NC State. But there's quite a few kids that stick out to my mind, and it's one of the kids that's popping into my mind right now is this kid named Tyreek Brown, who was with me at Moravian for last year and the year before that. And Tyreek was a kid that nobody ever talked about as far as being a high major or none of that. He was actually a D2 level kid that was the leader of our team last year at Moravian. He was the kid behind the scenes that did all the little stuff to help us win games. And I think sometimes kids like those go unnoticed because they're not the big name kids, and you're not going to see them going to NC State and some of these high major programs. So I found my joy in having kids like Tyreek Brown on my team that does all the little stuff and don't get caught up in scoring, having to score 15 points to get on the floor. I told my team this year, Tyreek Brown started the season off 2 years ago at Moravian Prep as the 12th man. It was 3 games this kid did not get in the game. 3 games he did not get in the game. And we were getting blew out the 4th game, and I put him in for 30 seconds. And most kids, when you get in for 30 seconds, they come in with an attitude. They don't want to play. This kid came in and played so hard in those 30 seconds that I said, I'm going to start him the next game. And I started him the next game, and this kid went on to start probably the next 8 games. And he wasn't a high major Division I. He was a D2 level kid that will run through a wall for me. So kids like that always have a special place in coaches' heart because they're going to do the little things to help you win. And those guys are the reasons that you win basketball games. So, I talk about some of the Josh Halls and the Joel and Tammys and Caleb Burgess, but I wouldn't be nothing without the kids like Tyreek Brown and those kids that does the little things to help us win basketball games.
We all know those kids are special like that. The little things is kind of what makes you win games. And those kids obviously helped you win a lot of games at Moravian. I know they're going to help you continue to win a lot of games at Winston Salem Christian. Well, Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show. I can't thank you enough. And I just want to tell you, you've done an amazing job here in the North Carolina and all over the country, just making an amazing impact on kids on and off the court. And I just want to thank you again for coming on here.
Thank you for having me. And, you guys tune in. Winston Salem Christian opens up the season on November the 10th against Bull City Prep. So that's going to be a big game. We actually just scrimmaged Bull City, and they put it to us very handily. So we're actually looking forward to this game and kicking off our season and participating in many Phenoms events. So thank you for having me on, Tyler. And, I continue to do what you guys are doing and provide a platform for these kids to play on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's great having you, Coach.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too.